back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Tales of Car Buying. And this is more of a cautionary tale, guys. As in, I'm going to tell you a caution that you should be aware of, but that I wasn't aware of recently. So, how to start this off? So, if you're following the channel, you know that I purchased a 2006 Dodge Magnum SRT8. A really cool car, and I got it for a heck of a steal. Now, I'm not new to this game. If you guys know me, you know that I buy a lot of used cars. A lot of cars with questionable backgrounds, a lot of cars coming from very cheap sources. I think you're following me here. I take a lot of risk when I purchase these cars, right? It's on me to find what's wrong, or possibly project what's wrong, work that into the cost, and see if it's gonna be worthwhile to bring this car back to life. Who knows if it usually is or not. It's still a fun project, right? So anyway, with this particular car, there were some trouble codes, right? Not a check engine light, and then we're coming back to that point. The big code that was present had to do with the emission system, so I knew that was gonna be pricey if we were talking catalytic converters, O2 sensors, all that kind of good stuff. Come to find out, if you're following the series again, you've seen that I've torn this 6.1 liter Hemi completely apart to replace the cam and the lifters, as one of the lifters apparently seized and chewed up a portion of that cam. Not an easy job, but fine. Cool, that check engine light didn't tell me that before, and there wasn't a code for that misfire until after I did some work. We're gonna come full circle to that. So we're gonna talk today about shady car dealers. Not necessarily dealers, this was a private party purchase, so people that sell cars under a false pretense, or they actively try to hide something. In this case, they really tried to hide that check engine light. Now, we all know the stories. A little bit of electrical tape over the check engine light, no one knows any better, right? Well, this was a little deeper than that. So I didn't find this problem out until I performed all this work. And I mean all this work, look at this. We had the engine apart, we did all this emission stuff, catalytic converters, O2 sensors, fully overhauled the car, running great. Come to find out, when I took the car to get smogged, the check engine light would not illuminate during the check. Now, this I should have caught, and how you can tell, and how I want you guys to check this, is when you ever purchase a used car, go ahead and turn it to the on position and make sure it cycles through all its warning lights. I never paid attention, since there's like a Christmas tree of lights that shines every time you start the Magnum SRT8 up. I never noticed the check engine light wasn't illuminating. And that's on me, right? Fair enough. What that doesn't take away from is the fact that someone put a lot of effort in preventing me from ever seeing that check engine light. So after that smog check fail, I took the car back and decided I want to remove this cluster and see what's going on with my check engine light. Now, it's a more modern car, it's a 2006, so it utilizes LEDs built into the cluster circuit board. So I'm like, I doubt one of those burnt out. That's not really a common thing with these cars. So, taking it apart, look what we find. First off, there was more warning lights in the check engine because you could see electrical tape over the ABS light, and a couple other lights looks like they've been tampered with. You can see on the circuit board, especially for the check engine light, it looks like someone broke off one of these tiny capacitors, probably the wrong term, I don't know, electrical connector thing, that would actually keep the light from ever illuminating. Wow, that's a lot of trouble. I wish they would have just used electrical tape. So who knows what lights are going to illuminate now when I get a new cluster in there. And that brings me back to where I'm currently at on that project. Now, because this person went so far to cover up a check engine light, such ridiculous measures to prevent me from ever being able to see what's going on with the engine, I have to replace the entire gauge cluster. Two things are really bad about when you have to do this to a car. First off, authenticity. You're replacing the cluster, that means your mileage, other things like that are not gonna show up correctly unless you go through a certified dealer that can reset that mileage, which of course I'll do because I'm a little obsessive with these restorations, right? On top of that though, you need to source the correct cluster, and this is a little bit, no one would call the SRT8 Magnum a super rare car, but they're pretty limited. There's not a lot of clusters kicking around. So source that, that's on its way. We're gonna install that. Aside from the pain of having to replace a cluster, getting the mileage reset, is the cost associated with that. If they were to just place tape over the lights, we could remove tape and save hundreds of dollars, because a new cluster is not cheap. It is at least a few $100s. And I don't mean new, I mean refurbished. So that's the situation I'm currently in, and what leads me to this rant against just not being transparent when you're selling a car. There's some shady stuff, and you know, we've all seen it. They hide something, patchwork, a band-aid, whatever little fix they can do to get it to pass smog or pass inspection. This is a little more deep than this. I think this was a little more harmful, actually destroying the cluster circuit board. Yeah, I could have caught the check engine light not illuminating. Fair enough, that's on me. But I wouldn't have been able to take out the cluster, take it apart before I purchased a vehicle. It'd be a really awkward test drive, wouldn't it? Hey, let me take apart your dash gauge here and let's just see what we're looking at. So unfortunately, I just wanted to extend that to you guys. So if you're out there buying crap boxes like I am on a regular basis, just check that check engine light. If you see that functionality, when you turn the key, that light doesn't illuminate, you gotta start asking some questions. And for financial purposes, just assume worst case scenario. Assume that you're gonna have to be replacing that cluster and that there's a lot of scary gremlins and big issues with the car that you might not know about. So there we have it, a cautionary tale about car buying. I hope you guys learned something from this, and I just wanted to express what I'm going through with this car right now. I know some of you are following the project, so there's where we are with that. I wanted to make a special cautionary tale to get out for you guys that are out there buying interesting cars like I am, looking for those good deals and the things you should be looking out for. Another interesting tale about buying crappy cars. Good stuff. All right, we'll catch you next time. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time in the Auto Obsessive Garage. Take care, guys. Also, don't be shady if you're selling used cars. If there's a problem, just tell the person. I mean, let's be honest, they're gonna be way more upset if they find out later, and you're probably not doing anyone in the car community a favor. So just be honest out there. That's all I got. See you guys.